is Tuesday, January 7th, and we were reading Genesis chapter 19 through Genesis 22.
All right. You ready? You have your thumbs up. You have your fist bump. We got it. What is this? Up. High five. Your heart. Your cheerful disposition. Yes, sir. Yes, you and Catherine. Y'all have your coloring books. And you're going to get quiet while we read. Oh, yes, because we're reading from Genesis. And we have... All right, we're going to start on 19. The wickedness of Sodom. That evening, the two angels came to Sodom while Lot was sitting in the city gateway. At the city gateway. When Lot saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed with his face to the ground. He said, "Please, my lords, come to your servant's house to spend the night and wash your feet. Then you can rise early and go on your way." "No," they answered, "we will be fine to spend the night in the town square." But Lot was so insistent, they finally agreed to go to his house. Lot had unleavened bread baked for them and prepared a feast, and they ate. But before they retired for the night, the men of the city, men young and old, from every part of the city of Sodom to the last man, surrounded the house. They shouted out to Lot, "Where are the men who came to your house tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them." Lot went outside, shutting the door behind him, and said to them, "No, my brothers, I beg you, don't sink to such depravity. Look, I have 2 virgin daughters. I'll bring them out to you, and you could do with them as you please. Only don't do anything to these men, for they are guests in my house." "Get out of our way," they replied. "This man comes as a foreigner to live among us, and now he dares to judge us? We'll inflict more harm on you than on them." Just then they laughed at Lot and tried to break down the door. But the 2 angels reached out and pulled Lot safely back into the house and bolted the door. They struck the men outside the door, young and old, with one blazing flash of light, so that they could not find the door. Then the visitors said to Lot, "Who else lives here? Do you have any other family here? Sons or daughters, sons-in-law or daughters-in-law, who live in Sodom? Get them all out of the city, because we are about to destroy this place. A tremendous outcry against the people has come before Yahweh, and he has sent us here to destroy it." So Lot went out to find the 2 men who were pledged to marry his daughters, and told them, "Hurry, leave the city, for Yahweh is about to destroy it." But they thought he was only joking and paid him no attention. At dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Go, take your wife and your 2 daughters and leave, or you will be consumed in the judgment about to come to the city." But Lot hesitated. So the angels grabbed his hands and the hands of his wife and daughters and brought them outside the city, because Yahweh was merciful to them. Once they were safely outside the city, the angels said to them, "Run for your lives. Don't stop anywhere in the plain until you've reached the mountains, and don't even look back, or you'll die." Lot replied, "Oh no, my lords. You've been so gracious to your servant, and you've been so kind to save our lives, but I can't make it to the mountains. It's so far from here. Disaster will overtake me, and I'll die. Look, over there is a village close enough to run to, and it's a small one. Let me escape there instead. You can see that it's such a small village. Let my life be spared." "All right," he replied, "I will grant this request too. I will not destroy that village. Now you must hurry. Run to that village, for I can't do anything until you are there." That is why the village was called Zoar. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. By mid-morning, Lot arrived at the small village of Zoar. And Yahweh's fire from heaven fell upon Sodom and Gomorrah. He completely destroyed the cities of the plain and all their inhabitants and whatever grew in the valley. But Lot's wife turned and gazed longingly on the city and turned into a pillar of salt. That morning, Abraham hurried back to the place where he had stood before Yahweh. Looking down toward all the land of the plain, he saw columns of smoke billowing up from Sodom and Gomorrah, like smoke of a furnace. So before God destroyed the cities of the plain where Lot had settled, he remembered his affection for Abraham and spared Lot from all the destruction. Lot and his daughters. Afraid to remain in Zoar, Lot left there and settled in the hill country and lived in a cave with his 2 daughters. One day, his firstborn suggested to the younger, "Our father is getting old, and there isn't a man anywhere who can impregnate us in the normal way. Come, let's get our father drunk with wine and have sex with him. That way, we can at least have children through our father." That night, they got their father drunk with wine, and the firstborn went in and slept with him. Lot was so drunk, he didn't have a clue about what had happened. The next day, the firstborn said to the younger, "I slept with my father last night. Tonight it's your turn. We'll get him drunk with wine, and you can sleep with him, and we can preserve our family line through our father." So they got their father drunk the second time, and the younger went in and slept with him. He was once again so drunk that he had no clue what had happened. As a result, both Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The older daughter had a son named Moab, who is the ancestor of the Moabites of today. The younger also had a son named Ben-Ami, the ancestor of the Amorites of today.
Sarah taken into the king's harem. Abraham journeyed from the oaks of Mamre to the southern region of Canaan and settled between Kadesh and Shur to live as a temporary resident in Gerar. Now Abraham had said about his wife Sarah, "She's my sister." So Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for her and took her into his harem. One night God appeared to Abimelech in a dream and said to him, "You're as good as dead, for you have taken into your harem a married woman." Now Abimelech had not touched Sarah, so he said to the Lord, "Would you really destroy people who are innocent? Didn't the man tell me she's my sister, and didn't she agree and say, 'Yes, he is my brother'? I've done this with clean hands and a clear conscience." Then God answered him in the dream, "Yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience. Furthermore, it was I who kept you from sinning and kept you from touching her. Now return the man's wife, and because he is a prophet, he will intercede on your behalf, and you may live. But if you don't give her back, you will certainly die, and your entire household." So Abimelech rose early in the morning and gathered all his servants. When he told them about his dream, they were terrified. Abimelech summoned Abraham and asked him, "What is this trick you have played on us? I did nothing wrong to you. Why would you bring such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done to me what no one should have ever do to another." Then Abimelech asked, "What is your purpose in doing this?" Abraham answered, "Because I thought, there's no one here that fears God. They will kill me to get to my wife. Besides, she really is my half-sister. She's my father's daughter, but not my mother's, so I married her. When God sent me out to wander from my father's house, I said to her, 'Here is how you can show your love for me. Everywhere we go, you must say about me, he's my brother.' Then Abimelech gave Abraham's wife Sarah back to him. In addition, he gave him sheep, cattle, and both male and female servants. Abimelech told them, 'Look, my land is now before you. Feel free to settle wherever you please.' Then he turned to Sarah and said, 'I am giving you your brother 1,000 pieces of silver as compensation to settle any claim against me, to exonerate you in the eyes of all who are with you, and to clear your reputation.' And Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech. He also healed Abimelech's wife and female servants of their infertility, and they began to have babies again. For Yahweh had shut all the wombs of the women of Abimelech's household, because he took Sarah, Abraham's wife.
21. Birth of Isaac. Yahweh visited Sarah just as he said he would, and fulfilled his promise to her. And Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the exact time God had promised them. Abraham named his son Isaac, the miracle son, whom Sarah bore him. When Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born. Sarah said, "God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me." And she added, "Who would ever have told Abraham that Sarah would one day nurse children?" Even though Abraham is an old man, look, I have given him a son. Hagar and Ishmael sent away. Isaac grew and was weaned, and on the day Sarah weaned him, Abraham prepared a great feast. But Sarah noticed the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, was mocking her son Isaac. So she said to Abraham, "Get rid of this slave woman and her son. Banish them, for the son of that slave woman must not become a co-heir with my son Isaac." Abraham was very upset over Sarah's demand, for Ishmael was his son too. God spoke to Abraham, "Don't be distressed over the slave woman and her son, and whatever Sarah says to you, do it, for it will be through Isaac your promise of descendants will be fulfilled. Rest assured, I will make the son of your slave woman into a nation too, because he is your son." Abraham rose up early the next morning, bundled up some food and a skin of water, and strapped them to Hagar's shoulders. Then he gave her his son and sent them away. So Hagar and her son Ishmael departed and wandered off into the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water was gone, she grew desperate, so she left her son under a bush. Then she walked about the distance of a bow shot and sat down, for she thought, "I can't bear to watch my son die." As she sat nearby, she broke into tears and sobbed uncontrollably. And God heard the voice of the boy. The angel of God called out to Hagar from the heavenly realm and said, "What's the matter, Hagar? Don't be afraid, for God has heard the voice of your son crying as he lies there. Get up, help the boy up, and hold him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation." Then God opened her eyes to reveal a well of water. She went over to the well and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a long, cool drink. God was with Ishmael as he grew up in the wilderness of Paran. He became an expert archer, and his mother Hagar arranged a marriage for him with an Egyptian woman. Abraham's oath to Abimelech. At that time, King Abimelech and Phicol, his army commander, came to Abraham and said, "It is obvious that God is with you and blesses everything you do. Now swear to me here before God that you will not deceive me, my children, or my descendants. But as I have shown you loyal friendship, so you will treat me and the land in which you live as a foreigner with loyal friendship." "I give you my oath," Abraham answered. But Abraham voiced a complaint about the well of water which Abimelech's servant had seized by force. Abimelech responded, "This is the first time I've heard about this. You never told me before now. I don't know who has done this." So Abraham took sheep and cattle, gave them to Abimelech, and the two men made a covenant. Then Abraham set apart from his flock 7 ewe lambs, and Abimelech asked him, "What are you doing with these 7 ewe lambs you are about to set apart?" He replied, "I am giving them to you, And by accepting these 7 ewe lambs, you acknowledge the proof that I dug this well and it belongs to me. That place was called Beersheba, because it was there that both men swore an oath to one another. After completing their pact at Beersheba, King Abimelech and Phicol, his army commander, departed and returned to Philistine country. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there he worshipped Yahweh, the everlasting God. And Abraham lived many years in peace as a foreigner in Philistine country.
God tests Abraham's faith. Sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said, Abraham. Yes, I'm here, Abraham answered. God said, please take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom I know you dearly love, and go to the land of Moriah. Offer him up to me as a burnt offering on one of the mountains which I will show you. Early the next morning, Abraham cut the wood for the burnt offering, loaded it on his donkey, and set out for the distant place God had shown him. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. Stay here with the donkey, Abraham told the young men. Isaac and I will go up and worship, then we will return to you. So Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on Isaac's back. Abraham carried the knife and the fire, and the 2 of them walked up the mountain together. Father, Isaac broke the silence. Yes, my son, Abraham replied. We have the wood and the fire, Isaac said, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham answered, My son, God himself will provide the lamb for an offering. So they went on together. When they arrived at the place on Mount Moriah that God had shown him, Abraham built an altar and stacked the wood on it. He tied up his son Isaac and laid him on top of the wood on the altar. Then Abraham took the knife in his hand to plunge it into his son. But the angel of Yahweh called to him from heaven, saying, Abraham, Abraham. Yes, I'm here, he answered. Do not lay a hand on the boy or harm him, he said, for now I know you are fully dedicated to me, since you did not withhold your son, your beloved son, from me. So Abraham looked up, his eyes fell upon a ram caught by its horn in a nearby thicket. Abraham took the ram and sacrificed it on the altar as a burnt offering in Isaac's place. So Abraham named the place Yahweh appears. Even to this day it is said, on Yahweh's mountain there is vision. Yahweh's angels spoke a second time from heaven. I solemnly promise you by the glory of my own name, decrees Yahweh, because you have obeyed my voice and did not withhold from me your son, your beloved son, I will greatly bless you. I will make sure your seed becomes as numerous as the stars of heaven and as the sand of the seashore. Your offspring will take possession of the city gates of their enemies. Because you have obeyed me, the entire world will be blessed through your seed. So Abraham and Isaac returned to the waiting servants, and they were departed for Beersheba, where Abraham had settled. The children of Nahor. Sometime later, Abraham heard the news, you're an uncle. Milcah and your brother Nahor have 8 sons. Uz, the firstborn, Buz, his brother, and Kamol, the father of Aram, Chesed, Hazo, Bildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel, the father of Rebekah. Moreover, Nahor had another wife, Rimah, who also had 4 sons, Teba, Gaham, Tahash, and Makah. Genesis 19 through 22.
Bye.